being able to move the kite from 10 to 2, it's important to be able to do it at minimum power, because that's one of our elements of changing directions without being pulled downwind. You notice if we send it too much, too fast, then we get a big pull and we go downwind. And it was also to practice starting to get a feel for how to generate power when we do want it. So it's all about, moving the kite around is about by controlling how aggressively you're doing it and how big your power strokes out are and where you're doing it, you're controlling how much power you're getting and where it's coming from. So it's about not only managing it at minimum power, but also knowing how to squeeze the most power you can out of it. So just that exercise of moving it to here and here is a basic skill that we use in a lot of different situations.
It was tiring, I think.
Yeah,
it was. You were there. I was a bit too tense, and as you get tired, just tense a bit more. And I acknowledge that, but you can't stop doing it. It's hard not to.
Yeah, totally.
It's just experience and confidence, and I was getting there, but I think I peaked, and then I was feeling a bit jippy.
Totally, and I want to talk about that for a sec. We talk a lot about monitoring the wind conditions and the sea conditions and being aware that they might change while we're out there and checking it again, for example, every time before we launch the kite and go out. But it's also important to monitor your own condition. And I saw that happening in you. I saw that happening in my windsurf student this morning also. You get to the point where you're kind of sort of forgetting the basics and things start to get messy. When you get to that point, just stop. There's no point in pushing it back there, because once you get past that point, you're kind of operating outside your functioning ability, and if your condition isn't good, then you're going to get yourself in trouble. So it's really important to be able to recognize that.
Exactly. I was thinking that harness, it's feeling a bit, and I was looking, I think, I just get there now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're losing it a bit, and
then things start to go wrong.
And then you're getting tired, you're making mistakes, and and I crossed that line. I peaked, and I was enjoying it, and then you think,
I noticed that.
I've just got to get back now.
Right when we were kind of starting to get close down to here, I noticed that, and that's why we came in right there instead of coming all the way down and coming in here.
It's the right decision to do that.
Yeah, and that's always the right decision. It's the same.
I was thinking it wasn't, and we can just make it. But it was, looking back, it's like I felt better. And everything finished better for me then.
So being aware of that and making those decisions and the maturity to do that is a big part about kitesurfing and not getting into trouble, because when things do go wrong, they can go wrong badly, and you want to prevent that from happening.
And quickly, yeah.
So you're getting tired, but I just want to go because the adrenaline's going. I'm going to keep on going, and that's where you make a mistake, you get hurt, you get lost, or whatever. So a very good point to always monitor that. All those things that you understood about the kite, we're going to, while we work on other specific steps, all that kite control is going to just become easier and more relaxed, and your accuracy and your power control is going to get better the whole time we're doing all these next steps that I'm about to talk about. Okay. Let's, just for the fun of it, we do this at the beginning of most of our technical sessions. We'll do the relaunch review. Okay. When the kite crashes, what do we do?
Let go.
And
monitor your situation, look around.
Because you have to make a decision.
Make a decision whether to relaunch or self-rescue.
Perfect. Or it might even be just, if there's somebody right there, it might just be I gotta wait for a second until I'm clear and then I can relaunch it. Perfect. So let's say your kite falls down here and it ends up down here. This is the most common one, straight downwind, and it's not going one way or the other. How are you going to get that kite from here over to here where you can get it off the water?
Take this main one here, let it out, and that will tend to bring that round over there.
Okay. If this is already kind of trying to go one way or trying to go the other way, that's a good help. If it's not going either way, then you can grab one of these back lines and start pulling it. And that's going to kind of get it going here. And then if you need to help it with this again, you let it go across, wait till it's here. What happens if you've pulled too much on your back lines and you back stall your kite and it's landed down like this?
That's that one again, isn't it? It's coming here.
Yeah, except it's a different kind of pull, isn't it? How are we doing it in this case when it's sort of sitting on its ass like this?
pull and hold that one then, I think.
We're taking that, we're reaching way up on the other side of the bar, and we're just giving it a huge reef, and we're ready to do that again until it kind of picks up and the wind gets underneath it and it moves forward. Okay. So same rope, same lines, but a different kind of pull, whether it's here or here. And what happens if the kite kind of falls like this?
We just generally left that alone and it sorted itself out.
Usually it sorts itself out. If it doesn't, you can pull on one of these lines, reach up on the line to pull it. That's going to rotate it around, come back down to here. And then from here, you know how to get it from here to here. Okay. And if the kite falls down like this, the lines are tangled.
I think we just let that go again.
Just wait,
didn't we?
give it time. A lot of times it'll just sort itself out. If it doesn't sort itself out, then you're going to need to go through the self-risk, and we'll talk about that again. We just did it kind of quickly at the end of the lesson, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, good. And yesterday we didn't really have any trouble getting the kite back up.
No.
And that was partly because, you know, these kites are a lot easier to relaunch than the other ones you used, and because they're what we call a bow kite, we've got a lot more control over that angle of attack, and also because the wind was fairly strongish. Yeah. When the wind is really light, it's a lot more of a delicate operation. Okay, so let's talk about that upwind body drag a little bit more, yeah? Here's you, here's that line across the wind. The wind is coming this way. If you're here and you want to be getting going upwind, there's three things that are going to help you. We're looking to be able to find that sharpest upwind angle, which may be about that angle. And the way we find that angle so we can get back upwind again is three things that are going to help you. Number one, we'll talk about this a little bit, keeping that kite steady like a rock with one hand.
10 and 2.
And the second thing is for your body to be an effective fin. You know, your body is sort of edging, or as you used before the word railing. Your body is acting like your board is going to act, and it's railing against the water, so that's going to help you go upwind. For your body to be an effective fin, you want it to be straight. Don't bend your legs or try to kick your legs. And you want it to be at that nice 70-degree angle that we found, and you also want it to be kind of as vertical as possible between this shoulder and this shoulder, so that you're not kind of laying on your stomach. You've got this shoulder back, this shoulder is pointing at the sky, your hook is pointing at the kite. A lot of people don't go as upwind as they could because they're kind of too much on their stomach. Keeping that there and changing your body this way a little bit so it's a vertical plane here, that also keeps your face out of the water and helps you to swallow less seawater.
Yeah, I swallowed a bit.
Everybody
I think I had a gallon yesterday.
Totally. If you've got your shoulder back like this, you can lift your head out of the water a bit, and if you're looking around you, you'll see when there's a wave coming. And thank you. The key thing for not swallowing water is keep your mouth closed.
Yeah, I know.
Easier to say
I
than
wasn't doing it on purpose.
But yeah, so then if you know there's a wave coming, and a lot of this is about the presence of mind to control your kite without having to keep your eyes locked on the kite. Because that's what you need for the next step to be able to navigate around. So body angle, body position, holding that kite nice and steady, and finding that up.
Don't swim.
Yeah, don't swim, because your body needs to be
Yeah.
a fin. Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit also, by the way, about how to body drag upwind with your board and how to hold the board so the board is also edging against the pull of the kite and helps us get that really nice angle. Now what we want to do though is, if we're here, we do want to know how to be able to go in that upwind direction. We also want to know how to be able to go across the wind, how to go in that direction, how to go in that direction, so that we have total control and we can end up exactly where we want. You notice when I left you in the water and I turned around, I went downwind and I came back and I came kind of right back to you. Okay. This is where we start getting into navigation and a little bit of tactics for getting back to your board. Okay, so if you're right here and you want to be going as upwind as much as possible, definitely you're going to be doing what we just said, yeah. Now say you don't, like say you're on your way back to your board and your board is about here, okay? You want to get to your board, you don't want to go upwind of your board. So if you want to go just a little bit less upwind, how would you change your body position? Just just lean over a little bit more on your stomach, and then you're not edging quite as far with your stomach. Later, your board will be doing the same thing, or sorry, with your body, and you'll just be able to get that angle a little bit that way. Do you remember yesterday we also practiced both hands on the bar, on the stomach, getting pulled directly towards the kite, and pulling the bar in and getting some power. That's going to take us a little bit in that direction. Okay? Now what do you do if you're here and you want to be going not a little bit downwind, but you want to really go downwind? Because you need to get down to this area. How would we get downwind?
Putting it 10 till 2.
Okay, now here's the thing. If you...
I don't know how you get that point.
It's not so easy. It's almost impossible to go straight downwind. Well, if you just put your kite at 12 o'clock, you'll go downwind, but you'll go downwind really slow. If you wing the kite across the face of the window, you'll go downwind really fast, but you'll be going kind of like this and not really in control. So the areas that we can move are anywhere between here and about here, and here, and about here. Just like with sailing, those are our best angles. So being able to point and go exactly in which direction you want is a really important thing, because that brings us into getting your board back. And again, like I said before, all these navigation skills that we're doing now are the exact same skills that you're using with your board when you're riding, when you're getting around your board. Okay, in general, we'll say this is your board. You always want to approach your board from across the wind. Okay, so if you're here, you're going to want to body drag up here, come at it and approach across the wind, your arms already out, ready to grab the board. We don't ever want that board to be in our drop zone, in our power zone, for a few reasons. Number one, if your board is floating around here and it's bumping into you, I don't know how many times I've seen it, the board bumps into somebody, it opens our quick release. The kite drops, your quick release is activated, and that's the end of your session most likely, unless you can somehow untangle your lines and get going again. So you don't want that board floating around here. If your board is here in your wind window, these lines as they're in the water, they might catch your foot strap, your fin, your handle, and then your board's going to be hanging like that, and that's quite dangerous. And if you're here and you're trying to get downwind to your board, if you try to wing that kite across the window, it's just going to pick you up and maybe you're going to land on your board. Yeah. So we don't want to have this board.
Same as a man overboard routine.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want that here at all. So here's a few kind of more tactical things. Okay? Number one, if your board is here, you don't really, and you're here and you want to get that board, you don't really want to go way out trying to get upwind and then way back, because in that time the wind is pushing on the board and it's going to be low, and the wind might blow right into the shore break. If your board is in the shore break, don't even bother trying to get it, because the waves are just going to pick it up and move it around, and then you're going to be in the shore break trying to navigate around. So to kind of prevent that from happening, you want to keep your zigzags kind of short, and when I say short, like a line's length or two, like with the length of lines that you had yesterday, maybe 2 line lengths. Go 20 meters and come back, 20 meters, come back. You don't want to go way up. If, for example, and I'll demonstrate all this before we go out, say this is the beach, here's the shore break zone, and your board is just kind of floating on the edge of the shore break zone, and it's going to get picked up by the waves. You don't want to go to the board, hold onto the board, and then try to hold the board while you're bringing the kite across and stabilizing it and going the other way, because then your board's going to be right here. There's no point in doing that. What we do want to do is, if your board's here, and for whatever reason, if you want to grab that board and take it out that way, and you're approaching the board from this side, just go past it on the downwind side, turn around, go this way, and catch it on the way out. Okay. So another kind of general thing is, we don't want to, it's very difficult to try to control the board and move the kite around at the same time. So there's just a few strategy things that'll take a bit of doing until they get comfortable. And this kind of ties in with that. Say this is your board and you're down here, okay? And your kite's on the water. And you're like, oh shit, my board's back there. I have to get my kite out. I have to work my way back upwind. Don't do what a lot of people do, which is you're here, your kite's here. You relaunch the kite, you put it towards 12 o'clock and you go like this, and you start looking around for your board. You've just, the fact of bringing your kite to the 12 o'clock and doing this to look around the board has just dragged you down here. It didn't help you at all, and it's really hard to see behind you.
Yeah.
Okay, so because your board's up there somewhere. So what you do want to do is, if your kite has gone down and your board's a little bit behind you, what you want to do is, if you're here, relaunch your kite. Remember when we relaunch the kite, we always stabilize it here first and go right into your upwind body drag. And once you're going upwind, then you can start to scan around a bit. Just do a short one while you scan this area, change direction, and once you get upwind, scan this area. So you're scanning while you're going upwind, and then you can find your board and get back really easily. That thing that we did before about moving the kite around and holding it with one hand, do you remember I said almost all the time in general, one hand is just for holding the kite stable. And if it starts to lose control, get two hands on it and recover control first and then restabilize it. That's true in almost every situation except for this one that I'm going to say to you now. There are a few times, and this is what I'm going to get you to practice out there, where what you want to do is, with the kite at 10 o'clock, you're going this way. With your one hand, you want to bring that kite to 12 o'clock and stabilize it at 12 o'clock. Okay. Remember I showed you how to hold that bar so you can make little small adjustments? And this is why we're doing this. And we're going to introduce a little practice drill that's going to be really important. How did you get your board on your feet when you did your lessons earlier?
The instructor put it on.
Okay, you're going to do it by yourself now. So in order for you to be able to put the board on your feet, another crucial skill that you need to have is to be able to keep that kite at 12 o'clock with one hand while you're messing around with your board here. So one of the drills we're going to do out there, just to make sure you can do that, is what we call the head and shoulders drill. And what we're going to do is we're going to go out there, stabilize the kite at 12 o'clock, hold it with one hand, touch your head, touch your shoulders, touch your knees, touch your toes. Do that twice without letting the kite drift off that way, or letting the kite drift off that way. Because when you have your board and you're putting it on your feet, if that kite's not staying straight up at the top of the window, it's going to drag you off to the side and you're going to lose control. So super key skill, not only keeping that kite stable at 12 o'clock with one hand, but also bringing it from 10 o'clock, stabilizing at 12 o'clock with one hand, so that your hand is free to do what it needs to do, whether it's upwind body dragging or holding your board. Okay. So specifically today, we're going to practice that. We're going to make sure that you can get upwind. Once you have those two, we're going to get the board and start navigating around the board. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. So here's how I can tell if you can stay upwind. We're going to be on the beach here. We're going to launch the kite. And you notice yesterday I kind of talked through the relaunch a bit. Now we want to do more like I'm going to let you launch the kite and keep the kite at 2 o'clock while we go past the shore break, and you're going to start rolling out by yourself and coming back in by yourself. But I'm just going to draw a line right here. If you can go out and body drag back, come in upwind of the line, that tells me that you're ready to start taking the board out and practice doing your multitasking. And the thing about the board that's going to happen, which happens to everybody, is
Did we get that wind much yesterday?
yeah, we did. And that was the thing that I showed you.
I know you were saying with those points of reference on the land. I couldn't tell any of that.
Okay, good. Let's talk
And
about
I've done
that.
it all sailing, and I know exactly what it means. But I couldn't orientate. I was thinking, have I gone upwind? I don't know.
And part of that is because you're
Yeah, and I was so
looking at the kite.
fixated on the kite. Yeah.
So try this then. If you're here, put the kite at 10 o'clock, get on your stomach, line your eyeballs with that kite to a tree or a building that's on the land, and that's going to be more or less across the wind, but a little bit downwind. Then go into your upwind body drag, and you'll see your new direction. You're going to be pointed towards something way up here. Okay. So that's how we can tell.
Yeah, I looked through the kite. Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah.
And yeah, good point. So, and that's part of navigating, knowing where you are and what direction you're going. When you're out there by yourself, you can do this also. And this is what I encourage people to do while you're out there practicing before we give you the board. Go out there, pick a building or a tree or whatever, a reference point on the beach and through here, and do 3 or 4 tacks. Make your turns, go back and forth. And if you've worked your way up into here, you know you're staying up here. If you find yourself going back here, well then you got to work on it. And whether that's because you're not finding the tight enough angle, or whether it's because you're losing ground when you change directions, that's all stuff to sort out and down. This time when we go up, we're going to be doing a bit more of this and a little bit less of this, so we're not going to go quite as far up. We're going to go maybe halfway or less, and we're going to start working on our up into the okay. And then still we're going to do things, especially what we're going to work on is getting a nice, clean, smooth power stroke, which is always going to take us down.
And the power stroke is 10 till 2.
Well, the power stroke basically is anytime you're moving that kite. Remember that thing we did? You pull it in to get a sharp turn, you sheet it out to accelerate it. As soon as it's moving forward, you kind of pull it back in. And remember that little kind of fine-tuning thing where we did where rather than letting it go to the end and then turning it, we started turning it as it approached here so we can keep it moving.
Yes.
Okay. That's a power stroke. And we are just practicing doing it here because it's easy to practice here. But when we're starting to ride, we have to focus our power stroke and make it come from a certain direction. So when we're starting to ride, our power stroke has to be on this side of the wheel. In the same way we were just talking before about when we're body dragging. If this is us here, if we just lay on our belly and hold the bar, we're going to go pretty much directly towards the kite. But if we want to go a little bit downwind more, we're going to do that same thing. We're going to do a power stroke on this side of the window. You notice how when you do the power stroke, if this is the edge of the window here, your power stroke takes you away from the edge of the window. Anytime you're putting power in the kite, you're getting close to the power zone, which is more downwind. So if you want to go in this direction, you're just moving the kite up and down on that side of the window, and you're moving in that direction. The more aggressively you're moving it up and down, the further downwind you're going to go. And if I wanted to just go straight downwind, I just take huge power strokes, and that'll just take me straight down. Does that kind of make sense and answer your question? Okay, good. Probably today I'm thinking if, and I hope if you get out, we're going to be focused on number 1, getting upwind, not losing control of the kite, navigating around that board. I'm going to go and do a demonstration first, but I want you to get to the point where you're very comfortable with, even if you drop that board, you give yourself a bunch of power strokes to send you downwind, you can quite easily come back up and get right back to that board. That's all the navigation, knowing how to go in the different directions and controlling yourself without getting going down. Just so you know, when that board is in the water, it's always going to be drifting a little bit downwind. So you don't have to be quite so perfect at your upwind. But it's all about navigating your way around the board. Then we're going to start putting the board on our feet and doing our water start.
Okay.
So let's talk about that self-rescue a second. Can you talk me through what you saw happen when I did the self-rescue and how we got back?
Yeah, we dumped the kite down
With which release?
with the quick release.
The main release, yeah.
The main release. Then approach the kite, so it's facing down into the wind, and you grab hold, wrap the lines as best you can to get them out of the way, as neatly as you can.
Yeah.
And then to do that and hold the side of the board with your hand on the right hand on the outside with your thumb up. So you can control
of the kite.
Of the kite.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Good. Let's look at that a little closer, okay?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's
because there's a few specific...
It looked quite easy at the time, but
and you know, when I did
it looked straightforward, and you thought, but
I'll tell you,
now thinking about
when I did it, I was like, ooh, I didn't really do a very good job of that. It's quite a mess. But let's talk about, you know why the quick release works. You know the physics of why it kills the power.
It's got a line in the centre, has that?
Okay, so
No, hey, we didn't have a fifth line, did we?
yeah, so here's the thing with the newer type kites. These two lines, these two front lines become your safety line. That's the kite, those are the lines that we worked ourselves up to get to the kite. So when you open your self release, or you open your quick release, say here's normal right here, yeah, your bar is in and out. What you do is you make it so that these lines can run all the way up to here, which is really important because these back lines are loose. Now the kite can tip all the way over there, whether it's on here or whether it's on the water. Those back lines being loose are what allows the kite to spill all the way, and you're still going to get a bit of power. And there's a few more kind of deeper technical points which we can get into later. But basically, those back lines have to be loose in order to kill your power. Otherwise, you're still catching power like this. Now, if these back lines, for example, get wrapped around here, and that back line's not loose enough anymore, or say your line gets wrapped around here, anytime there's tension in these lines, your kite can power up and take off again. And one thing that we're always afraid of is what we call the death spiral. Just say this line gets hung up on there, and your kite doesn't depower all the way because it can't spill all the wind out. One line is a lot shorter than the other. What happens when one line is shorter than the other? Exactly, the death spiral. And it just pulls. And a lot of those accidents that you hear about are because we talked yesterday about people being on land in the first place, flying the kite around on land. If this happens on the water, it's not so bad. Hopefully you've got enough distance to maybe sort yourself out. But
Don't do it on the beach.
you don't want to do it on the beach. But the death spiral, that's where you see these, and I've seen it happen. Guys get dragged like 200 or 300 meters down the beach. So just to be aware, when you open that quick release, this is how it should work, but there's always the random element where things do go wrong. And it kind of happens quite a bit. The lines get tangled around here, they get caught up in here. So the main point of the
There was
self-rest...
that knot in yesterday, wasn't there? In that one?
Yeah, exactly. So the key thing is, when you open your quick release and your bar slides out and your kite goes out with no power, the technique that we're going to do is we want to wrap our lines up and bring ourselves towards the kite, making sure that these back lines are always staying looser. Because if we wrap them all together, then your back lines are going to take tension, your kite can power up, and you're halfway to the kite, and your kite's going to take off.
So did you just wrap those two lines first?
I'm going to show you how to do it right now. We're going to take a bar out and lay it out, and I'll show you, and I'll leave it there for you to practice too. Okay. That's your self-rescue. So for today then, hopefully at some point I want to get you to do a self-rescue by yourself from start to finish.
So if it's down and you're approaching it, so the kite say it's gone down there.
Okay, hold on a sec. If your kite is like this, let's hope you're not approaching the kite because your kite is taking power. Something has gone wrong if you're getting to the kite and it's like this. If your quick release has worked and your back lines are loose, the kite will either be like this, very likely and most commonly it'll be like this too. So let's say the kite's like that.
So you approach that there.
Yeah.
And you've got to flip that, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you've got to get it into that position there,
Yeah.
and then to hold it in the front there, wasn't it?
Hold it like that. So it's gonna pull you in like that. We'll do it on the beach, okay? I just want to show you.
Yeah.
So we'll do that on the beach. So we'll do all that first without the board. And here's what's gonna happen. Once you get all that sorted out, your directions, it's nice. As soon as you got a board to think about,
That all goes.
you're gonna phase all that. So now having a true good feeling and understanding, that means that you can control the kite while you're still thinking about something else. Okay, and it'll be kind of like the first time you go, it'll be all crazy, but then you get used to it, you do it a couple times, and then being able to sort of multitask, manage your board and your kite at the same time. Now you're kind of zooming in on getting closer, doing the water start,